And good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Final Fantasy VI Worlds Collide chat. We will be running a couple races tonight. My name is Arusta, and my co-commentator today is Dweia. How are you doing today, Dweia?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited to be able to see all the different runners who ran this. How are you doing?
I am doing very well. This should be a very hype couple of matches. In case anyone's not familiar with what's going on here tonight, we are doing the Moogle Cup. So the Battle Royale is 8 different racers, the top 8 from the previous stage. And we are doing a set of 4 racers here, and then we are doing a set of 4 more racers starting at 10 o'clock. So you got 4 hours of Worlds Collide content right coming at you.
Or could you ask for? All right, so in our first race, we are going to be doing Heat 1, which is going to be Funnelcakes, NonniGray, Windblown Leaf, and jbruntr. As far as the Moogle Cup goes, it was 16 participants, 3 weeks of round-robin sync racing, and 3 weeks of async Battle Royale. This is the 8-man Battle Royale. We'll be going into the 4-man here next week. Great event, fun. Anybody who is interested in playing, definitely sign up for the next one. We're always ready to kickstart another one.
Absolutely, and I will just add on to that, like the Moogle Cup, if you're brand new to Worlds Collide, like this is a great way to learn. There are seasoned, as it says on the screen, like there are seasoned veterans. Some of the best racers in the community will come in, will help you out, will give you tips, will teach you. So it's a great way to really just get connected and also just, get better at the game. Would strongly recommend anyone join.
As far as the Moogle Cup goes, to unlock Final Kefka, it is 6 characters and 9 espers. To unlock Kefka's Tower Skip, complete any of the 2 9 characters, collect 12 espers, or collect 22 checks. Now there are additional objectives. Doma Dream, learn 8 sword techs, Magitech Factory, Magitech Upgrade. There are some fun ones, Suplex a Train, always a fan favorite. Sing the Opera, if anybody's feeling really musical out there, or Save and Kill Sid to get either a relic weapon or armor. It is a 3-character start. Enemies gain 2 levels for every character and esper found, and gain 2.5 levels worth of XP GP rewards for every character and esper. There is reduced MP cost, which definitely makes it helpful. Generous chests and shops. And of course, dead checks will reward great things like Valiant Knife, Illumina, Fixed Dice, and all those favorites. Next, undead bosses can be killed by restoratives, which is a great help.
Absolutely. And the nice thing about these flags, if anybody is somewhat familiar with Worlds Collide, is these are very standard flags, but they're just slightly lightened up. So, what we'd call default flags, something like Ultros League, which is actually starting soon, which is our league for people to play in. Again, anyone can sign up for that. Details are in the Discord. And these are just a little bit more friendly than that. So it's a great way to get started, to really just get used to the game. So strongly recommend. Again, you can still sign up, and then they run these whenever we have enough participants. So.
And for our Battle Royale stage qualifiers, like I said before, the first one will be Funnelcakes, jbruntr, NonniGray, and Windblown Leaf. Heat 2 will be myself, Grethem, Corinth, and Sigil. Both races are going to be fantastic.
Absolutely. These are the top 8 runners from the previous stage. So, should see some great performances here. It's pretty much split up. There are similar times in all of them in terms of what was done in the previous stages. So these matches should be very competitive and very interesting to watch.
So just while we're getting ready for the race to start, Arusta, did you ever do a Moogle Cup?
So I did not do the Moogle Cup. I started a few years ago when there was a tournament called the Moogles First Tournament, which was a similar concept, but just done, in one single tournament, and then turned into the Moogle Cup. And even that, very useful, very similar setup.
All right. You're about to get started here. Anytime now. And here we are.
All right, and so as we just saw the flags, these are pretty similar, and we are getting started right now. Looks like a Celis, Mog, and Realm start. Very nice.
Absolutely. I know our restreamer Saberwolf. That's his girl.
Yeah, and Celis is very nice to have early because she does open up a bunch of checks. Mog is nice to have early because it potentially allows you to combo in and do a lot of Narsh altogether. So we'll see where our runners go here.
Well, it looks like everybody's going to be heading towards Narsh. Nice looting there, and always want to check out those shops.
Yeah, and you can also, which we're seeing here with Mog, you can start off in this loot room, which is one you would go to often even if you didn't have Mog, but it lets you start off the Lone Wolf check as well, so you get even a little bit of time savings there.
Absolutely. And along with the Lone Wolf, since you're going to be heading up there, you also get to peek Yeti if we get him, see what's in his cave. If we see a character up there, that's nice information. And also we can see what's at Kefka at Narsh.
Yeah, and some shurikens for sale, sleeping bags, and Phoenix Downs, all nice to have. And then also there was economizers, very expensive, but if we get Ultima later down the line, that can be very nice to have. Ultima or Merton.
Nice thing about Ultima in Moogle Cup, even if you don't get an economizer, it's still cheaper than in the Ultra League. Alright, it looks like Noni is not going to start Lone Wolf. And looks to be going along a regular loot path.
Yeah, and that can make sense because one of the ways that it's often nice if you've got Mog early is you want to sort of combine in the Kefka Narsh check and then the check of the Moogle defense. So probably want a couple more levels just to make sure you can handle Kefka Narsh and handle whatever happens to be at the defense.
Oh, and that was an early experience egg in returners.
Yeah, and a Pearl Lance, which, with Mog is a very nice item, could potentially turn Mog into a jumper, and that's a late game caliber equipment.
Very nice. It looks like nobody's actually going to go up the mountain at first, so we'll have to wait and see what's at Kefka at Narsh and with Lone Wolf a little later.
Absolutely. It does fortunately look like everybody is going to returners, so we'll get that experience egg, so there's no big advantage there. This experience egg is pretty much one of the most powerful equipments, especially if you get it early. Can really swing a seed if you get it and one of your opponents does not.
Absolutely. It is a great find early on. Now, I did not actually see what the starting skills were. Did you?
I did not. I did, however, note that jbruntr showing off a little bit of nice game knowledge there, buying a few Revivifies. Those are always nice to have because they can be used to kill undead, which in this case, flag set also includes bosses, and undead often give you good experience, so could potentially be a nice way to grind later if you need it too.
Definitely. And Leaf was checking out the monster in a box in Narsh, reset out of it because it wasn't what he wanted, but again, there's some knowledge.
Absolutely, and Nani bought a few Magus hats there in South Figaro, which are secretly one of the best items. Probably overlooked them in your vanilla playthrough because they were only an early game item that cost 500 or something gold, but +5 magic is just incredibly useful given how magic power is pretty much the busted stat of Worlds Collide and Final Fantasy VI.
Absolutely. You add that on with some earrings and a +2 magic power Esper, and you are golden.
We're about to see here Nani with that Celis in the party is going to, in just a sec, show us our first check here. We'll see what they get. That is another nice benefit of starting with Celeste, is that this is the kind of looting here in South Figaro people typically do early anyways, so just loot routes right in very cleanly.
And it is our first Esper, Tritalk. Oh, and dried meat, so we don't have to do a dried meat hunt if we get Gao. Nice ice rod, that will help out.
And Funnelcakes, buying a Genji glove. Those are always nice to have if you find a couple good weapons. Genji glove with nice or even decent weapons can really be an endgame caliber character right there. Just does a lot of physical damage. Nice to have.
Now, crazy enough, I think I spotted a Mega Elixir for sale in the South Figaro weapon shop. So if we ever needed one of those, we can get one.
Absolutely, and that's the kind of thing you wouldn't want to buy it this early, but if you're running around, you do want to take note of that because that's the kind of thing later in the seed. If you get all the way near the end of the seed and don't yet have one, you might want to dip in here on your way to Kefka's Tower just to buy one, so you've got one for fall and one if you need it against Final Kefka.
Yes. Looks like NonniGray is going to go check out the Zen Thief. And it's a very expensive item.
Yes, the thing to note there, in case anyone's not familiar with it, when he says in the World of Balance here, this is it, he does not, if it was an Esper, he would tell you this is an Esper, or I've got the glowing stone, therefore it's a high tier, it's an item. Given the settings here, that high tier item is probably a pretty good item, but probably not worth $50,000 at this stage of the game.
Definitely. And if you happen to go to World of Ruin first, he would not give you that hint. The price may be different, but you're never going to know until you buy it.
Absolutely. But knowing that it's an item, if Nani ends up going, or any of our other runners end up going to Zen World of Rune, and it's much cheaper there, I mean, given the potentially high tier items that are on the table, might even be worth getting, if you're in the World of Rune, if it's a cheap price.
Yes. Anything will help. So while they're doing looting that we've seen and a little bit of equipment sorting, what character do you want to see next?
So I am always a fan of getting Terra very early, just because there is so much loot available in the Imperial base / Cave to the Esper. So I always like seeing that early. What do you like seeing at this point of the seed?
Well, honestly, Terra's my girl. Me and Saber can argue about that all day, but Terra's my girl. If it's not Terra, I will take a Sabin. Sabin for the checks.
Looks like Nani's trying to get a couple at enemies here, and that is not what you want to see as a random enemy. Just doesn't give you any experience, I don't believe.
That is a quick nope out. Alright, we're seeing World of Ruin on jbruntr's side. Is he going for an Opera Dragon?
With that Ice Rod, and I believe there were also Super Balls for sale. I did not see if jbruntr bought some or not, but with that Ice Rod and Super Balls, you can potentially very easily kill this dragon, and that would be a huge start to your seed, especially with the Experience Egg already equipped.
Experience Egg, a lot of experience, and it does not affect scaling in Moogle Cup. So, that is a good early play if you can do it. That's a mean dragon, though. And it looks like up on NonniGray, we are going to be doing a Bowser's Mansion play. See what's in there.
Yeah, I like this as an early play because you are guaranteed a few battles we're about to see here, and you can add a couple more if you really want to. So this is the kind of play. Ooh, looks like Tritok had Strength +2. That's a very nice thing to have early if you put it on someone who's going to be doing damage.
Absolutely. But yes, an early Jador play, it is nice for those grind fights if you're needing them. And we are. Oh, that is a reset out from the dragon, it looks like, on jbruntrr.
Yeah, of all the dragons, White Dragon is not the one you want to find early, just because it doesn't have any weaknesses that they can exploit right now, and it tends to be very aggressive, as we saw.
But we're going for round 2.
Windblown Leaf stopping over at, looks like Zen World of Runes, so we might actually see what this costs and what they buy. Oh, still super expensive.
Ouch.
Probably never going to see that bought unless they happen to be here with saving way later in the seed with plenty of money.
Exactly. Now, looks like Funnelcakes is going into Magitech. That is a good play. It gets you 3 checks. First 2 can be an Esper or an item. The last one can be Esper, item, or character, I believe.
The third check is guaranteed progression.
Ah, okay.
So it will either be a character or Esper. The one thing to note is that after the first 2 checks, you can bail out, but then after that, like there's that save room where in the vanilla game, Sid finds out about what's going on at the factory. Once you go in there, if you save in there, you are forced to, fight your way out. So that is something, if you do that, you want to make sure you save in a completely separate spot just so you don't trap yourself.
However, I can imagine, since it looks like Mog has Magitech, that we're going to see all the way through.
Absolutely. Magitech, especially once you get the full Magitech factory, which is the extra 4, that is a late game command that will carry you through the entire seed. That's what Mog's going to be doing.
Yep. Once that is unlocked, he is set for endgame. So, looks like everybody except for Funnelcakes is going to be doing that realm check. So there's a little bit of deviation in routing, and it may pay off.
Yeah, and the one nice thing that I believe is on the Tritalk is Life 2, which generally you don't want to be reviving in combat if you don't have to, but Life 2 can be a very useful spell to have later in the game, just to get yourself out of it. Ooh, an Atma weapon for sale.
Life 2 is the best healing spell in the game, though.
It is. Unfortunately, generally you want to be killing stuff rather than healing.
Absolutely. Question in chat, why does Murder Child, Realm, have no commands? I believe that's because her command is probably X magic, and if she doesn't have any magic, then it's not going to show up.
Yes, you can see that on NonniGray's side, who has taught Realm Ice 2, presumably from the Ice Shield. It has X magic and magic. Which that's also another thing worth noting, is that the elemental shields all teach their level 2 variant, so early in the seed that can be a great way to sort of burst open the seed by teaching someone Fire 2, Bolt 2, Ice 2, in addition to the fact you can break the shield for a magic defense ignoring max roll level 3 spell, so it's crazy damage.
You hate to break a shield that early, but if you have to, you have to. And if one of our Espers does provide Merton, it is Merton protection, no matter what elemental shield it is.
Absolutely, and nice idea there for Funnelcakes to save, change equipment a little bit before this battle, just because this is the first boss battle. You want to make sure you're in good shape.
It's just Dataluma. And with the Super Ball, probably gonna go pretty quickly.
Ooh, and fire rods for sale for 2,700 gold, which is a fairly reasonable price. So NonniGray also picked up a Ragnarok, which is pretty much what Celeste is going to be doing for the rest of the seed, with a +2 strength Esper, and that's pretty much good.
Yep. Celeste is set for the whole rest of the game. That is beautiful to see.
And jbruntr did make it past that dragon. I did not happen to see what was shown there, or what they got as a prize.
I believe it was another shield. I could be wrong, but I think it was a shield.
Okay, excellent. Looks like Both of them are going to go to, both NonniGray and jbruntr are going to go to Triangle Island.
The nice thing about this check is it is peekable. If you see a character sprite, you're going to get a character. If you see an imp, soldier, or ghost, it's going to be either an esper or an item.
Yeah, so since it's an imp, it's going to be a esper or an item. And Poltergeist, ooh, that's spicy chicken is probably not what you want to see this early. NonniGray resetting right out. Can't blame that.
Absolutely. I would do it. But it looks like jbruntr with those super balls is going to take it.
Meanwhile, Funnelcakes had no problem with Narapa getting Kieran for the trouble. Second Esper. And again, this is the switch right there. Now Funnelcakes has hit that, committed to finishing out Magitech.
Nice. And jbruntr takes down the spicy chicken. Noni deciding to do the Opera House play. Another place for great grind fights if you need them.
Absolutely. The jbruntr got just a experience egg, which is technically a dead check, but this early in the seed, it's the kind of dead check you're perfectly fine with getting, because that will generally pay itself off in terms of time over the rest of the seed.
Absolutely. And now we're going to go for a minecart ride up with Funnelcakes, and once we get through a few fights and a boss, we'll have one more boss, and we'll be able to see what they get for this.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, on Leaf's side, dipped into the auction house, which is anytime you're in the town, it's always good to dip in the auction house. Even didn't buy anything, but just see glowing stones still available, so you know if there are or are not espers.
Did you happen to see if there were espers?
And there were, yes.
Of course.
Because that's the kind of thing it can often be good to do just as your last check, get an esper. You know, if you're one short for getting to Kefka.
Yes. jbruntr is finally going up to Lone Wolf, so we can see what's at Kefka at Narsh, and also see what the wolf has stolen. So question in chat is, how do you know a check is forced? Meaning, I believe, whether it's forced progression, so either an esper or a character, there are certain checks that I believe, because of the length of them, they are guaranteed a better reward than just a dead check.
Yes, it's either checks which are very long, like the one Funnelcakes is on this third part of Magitech, or checks for certain characters which don't have a lot of checks. For example, Gao's Velt check is guaranteed progression just because Gao only has a couple checks. So in order to make Gao not a very underrated character, it's forced that you have a reason to be happy that you found Gao rather than being like, ah, great.
Yes. Oh, we have Locke at Kefka at Narsh, and it looks like jbruntr is going to attempt a two-party run to beat Kefka down at the bottom, or whatever is in Kefka's place.
Oh, now that is a nice Esper Kieran there. Got that Funnelcakes got from the second part of the factory, which has Fire 3. I believe that was Cure 3 as well. And then either Fire or Ice 2. So nice variety of abilities there. And jbruntr showing off the nice skips of the soldiers. It's pretty much a timing thing. If you get the timing down, you can do that consistently.
Yes. Oh, and we have Hiding in the Hidenites. Now, since this is Moogle Cup, one Revivify or one Phoenix down is going to take this guy down immediately.
Absolutely. And in case you're doing this in a setting which doesn't have this, it is still considered undead, so it is still, weak to fire in a normal circumstance, just not Revivify, just walk away like jbruntr just did.
So he will get Lock as a character. And
Yes, meanwhile, Funnelcakes got a Ifrit from the third part of Magitech.
It's progression. Not the character they were probably hoping for, but it is progression and the MTech unlock.
So if you were in Brunter's shoes right now, what do you do now that you have the lock? Does it sort of change where you're going, or are you still sort of thinking you'll go where you normally go?
Well, actually, I would do exactly what he's doing and peek this Moogle defense check. And hey, look, there's our girl, best girl Tara. However, after that, especially because we got Tara, I would definitely go to World of Ruin Narsh, check out the weapon shop, because then, because of this, getting Tara, can get both items. What about you? What would you do?
I would definitely do that. I would also probably, I'm a big fan of Phoenix Cave. It feels like it takes forever, but there's a lot of loot on the way, and you get the dragon, which in these settings, you know it's going to be a good item. So I would probably do Phoenix Cave in addition to the lock checks.
Oh, me and Phoenix Cave. We don't get along.
Yeah, I know that's a controversial opinion. Some people just hate Phoenix Cave, and I totally understand why.
Absolutely. Funnelcakes is taking on his spicy chicken. And poor Mog is just getting beat up. And Celeste. While down on jbruntr's side, we've got the Phantom Train, which is another undead boss that can be immediately killed.
Absolutely, and chat pointing out the good thing with Tara as well, you can do Cave to the Sealed Gate being next on the list. That actually might make sense to do even before you flip over to World of Ruin Narsh. Just save yourself the 2 transitions, because that Cave to the Sealed Gate also has tons of equipment and chests as well.
That is very true, and it is a relatively fast check.
And it is a Tara with Shock, which is very, very nice. Shock is the General Leo ability that you probably use for 1 battle or 2 battles in vanilla. It looked great. It is, I believe, magic defense ignoring, attacks everybody, has nice power. It's probably not quite what you would want to rely on for Final Kefka, but pretty much everything right up until that stage, it can carry you the entire seed if you needed to.
Absolutely. Now, if I remember correctly, that is another Moogle Cup thing that is only available there. Ultros League, I don't believe, lets you have Shock.
Yeah, a lot of settings will turn off Shock just because it is so overpowered compared with pretty much every other command in the game. For especially if you get it at the start of the seed, it basically is everything you need with this hero ring like they've got. Basically will carry a jbruntr through the entire rest of the seed right up until the final bosses.
Okay, so all the things that are available on the table, not that any one person has them all. We've got MTech Mog, we've got Celis with Ragnarok and +2 Strength Esper, Tara Shock, Realm with X Magic. I mean, that's a pretty good party right there.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would just say, you know, I mean, Realm's natural magic is high enough that you can put on a magic hat with her, maybe give her some kind of a brush, and that, even if you don't get an MP magic power plus Esper, even that is good enough that that's final game thing right there. Especially since we already have access to level 3 spells.
Exactly. Looks like we're going to be getting a look at the Cursed Shield to see how many fights it's going to take to uncurse it for the Paladin Shield. And it's at 12, which is doable, but not the best.
Yeah, 12 is high enough. If you have a ribbon or you have a character who's already not doing much, it can be doable. a lot of people would probably just sort of not bother, especially at this point when you've already got plenty of strength on the table.
Exactly. However, I do believe there were economizers somewhere for sale. So if someone wanted to go there, that is a Realm with Economizer and Ultima. That's pretty good.
Absolutely, and Funnelcakes and Leaf just following in others' footsteps, going through the Narsh checks here, about to get their lock and then presumably their Terra as well shortly thereafter.
So with the characters that we have now and the checks that we have open, I have a feeling that these runners are definitely going to start flying.
Yeah, at this point, outside of potentially Magitech, I would probably even avoid some of the longer checks because you're gonna be hitting real quick mode very soon. There's a lot of fairly quick checks available.
Exactly. And if one of their next characters is a Sabin or a Cyan with a lot of easy, quick checks, this seed could be over very quickly.
Absolutely, and what NonniGray is showing off a little bit on their side there is that you can pick up the other item you turned down. Picking up a couple chests in the Moogle area before bailing out.
Oh, but they were in Roll the Balance, so they weren't picking up the other Lone Wolf item. Now I think they're going for it. No.
Probably going to the weapon shop and then the curse shield check.
That's right. You're right.
Yeah, because this early in the seed, it still makes sense to, even if you think you're good, checking the curse shield is at least worth it if you're already here. Because if it's a low number, like a 6 or a 7, just the amount of how much easier it makes Kefka's tower, you can pass it around for the statue bosses, and those statue bosses become a lot easier.
Absolutely. jbruntr is going to do the Magitech play. Or not. Oh, no, we're going to go Sealed Gate.
Yeah, probably remembered, oh wait, I have Terra, let's do that first. Because this sealed gate, especially what we're about to see here, this room, this is the densest treasure room in the game. It is dense enough that, like, even if Terra happens to be your very final character, it's often worth going here just to get all these items, even if you do nothing else. Atma
There's
Weapon,
an Atma
Economizer.
and Economizer.
And nobody does backflips over it, but the Nutkin suit as well has some very nice stats for, you know, if you're going to do Realm as a magic user, that's can be nice and helpful there too.
Yes, that was a stacked treasure room. Right, Windblown Leaf has killed their Haydn. And it looks like we're going to get a Narsh Cave play from Funnelcakes.
I like this as a play. Narsh Cave is a very, very fast check. You can pick up a couple chests along the way if you want. If you want to do a couple normal battles, you can, because there's the healing spring. Or you can just motor through it like Funnelcakes is doing.
With the amount of power that we have, I probably would have done the same thing. And we have Flame Eater. With Ice 3, it's not going to be a problem at all.
Absolutely. And one thing to note is one of the espers that both NonniGray and jbruntr have is the Golem from the Welk spot. I believe Windblown Leaf will probably get it soon as well. So that is very nice for calmness protection for Final Kefka. One of the things you always want is just a way to deal with calmness, the physical attack that can instant kill your characters and gets fired off once or twice at the end of Tier 3.
Yes. And if you lose a couple of your powerhouses at tier 3, tier 4 can be very hard. jbruntr pointing out that yes, they were handing out big swords like candy. We saw Ragnarok in the Sealed Gate treasure cave, I believe.
And looks like at least 3 different elemental shields there on jbruntr's inventory as they do a little bit of menuing.
So you mentioned Golem earlier and calmness protection. What else can be considered calmness protection?
So other ways of getting calmness protection is it's considered a physical attack. So Phantom also works, though it has the risk of if you get hit by a magic attack, that vanish disappears. You can use Mirage Vest, which is secretly very nice for the final boss because it renews after every single level or every single tier. So you actually have a good chance of having it. And then you can have, I am blanking on it, the wolf, Fenrir. You can also, if you're desperate, Shadow's dog does still have its 50% chance of block, and then you can go with like beads for the 50% block, or just equip a bunch of evade gear and roll your dice.
Well, not to mention having some life 3 helps out too.
Absolutely.
Looks like we have a Mirage Vest fan in the chat. All right, now we see jbruntr going to be doing his Magitech Factory, while Funnelcakes is doing Opera.
Yep, NonniGray picking up their Terra, likely to follow in everybody else's footsteps here. Very happy right there, I'm sure, seeing that shock.
Yes. Leaf picked up Terra.
Leaf, I'm sorry, that's what I meant.
That's okay. They're fighting in the same area, so it looks very confusing.
Yeah, it looks like Leaf is going straight to the Cave to the Espers, which makes plenty of sense. All that equipment, probably going to get some all that good stuff we saw earlier as well.
Yeah, they'll be quite happy to see that. Alright, and I see on NonniGray's side somebody learned Mute, which will also help with the Terra climb. And we have an old man. Old man Strago.
Yeah, I did not see what Strago had, but at this point I can't imagine you would want to swap out. Got plenty of good characters.
Yes, I have a feeling he will be driving the airship.
And Strago also, his default stats are kind of bad.
Yes, they are. And his checks aren't great. Burning House, if you have him early, is grind fights. Fanatic's Tower is guaranteed progression, high-tiered item, and a dragon. And then you have Ebbett's Rock, happily known as RNG Cave. None of them are great.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with Fanatic's Tower is that it maintains its can only use magic or similar things, still maintains that property. So with this party, they would probably be okay, but for some parties it can just be miserable.
Exactly. Now, I know that we've seen this before, but I don't think either one of us commented on it. We have Magimaster at the Opera.
Yes, but Funnelcakes here, tossing out Berserk, knowing exactly what to do, because the one thing that's nice about Magimaster is he casts all sorts of crazy spells that also waste a ton of time, but can be Berserk, which makes it a lot easier.
Basically turns into a big kitten.
Exactly. However, if you're using people who are in the front row, for example, Celeste with the Ragnarok, Magimaster can sometimes hit surprisingly hard, so just something to watch out for. It's still better than him using magic, but he can punch you in the face pretty hard if you let him.
That's very true. However, I think Funnelcakes probably isn't going to have a problem. Considering the magic that we have, he wasn't able to put up his wall change where he absorbs different things or they just become nullified, so that's nice.
Absolutely, and so we're about to see, jbruntr getting his Kieran, probably going to be very happy about the spells that are on it. The nice Ice 3, Fire 2, and Cure 3.
For sure. Alright,
Well,
looks like
Funnelcakes has Edgar, so we'll see how soon Funnelcakes follows up some of the Edgar checks that we have not yet seen.
that is very true. Now, was Edgar at the opera? Is that what I saw?
I believe, yes, Edgar was at the opera.
Okay, Edgar at the opera.
Yes, and our excellent tracker, Grethem, confirming that he was indeed at the opera. Big thanks to Grethem for doing the difficult work of keeping us in line, pressing the buttons, and then as well Saberwolf, our restreamer. Takes a lot to put on an event like this, and those people behind the scenes, they really are the ones who do all the hard work. We just have to sit here and talk.
Exactly. And definitely give our runners a shout out and a follow. They're the ones that are providing you with the real entertainment here. I have a feeling our Nightbot was not updated, but that's okay.
All right, and Funnelcakes, look, based on where they're stopping, look to be going to do the Edgar checks. The Edgar checks, since they sort of tie together, I think this is nice to do them, while you still have a decent amount of progression so that you can bail out. If you get progression in the first couple, you get progression, from the underground or from the castle itself. Maybe you skip the whole ancient castle because the ancient castle gives you a dragon, but also takes quite a ways.
Yes, since you can't warp out of it, it is a long walk there and a long walk back. And we see that it's not going to be a character for Edgar's first check in World of Ruin, but it could be an item or an Esper. And since Funnelcakes has 6 characters, they're really hoping for an Esper.
Absolutely. That is actually pretty much what Funnelcakes would be hoping for at this point. Since you did mention it, if this was a character during that little cutscene with all the thieves, where it would be, rather than the very secretly discussed Gerard/Edgar, you would actually see what the character is. Oh, and a Minerva. Very nice
a lot
to have.
Of money. Very nice indeed. And we have dueling Dullahans on NonniGray and jbruntr. Dullahan being a very deceptive boss who looks like he's covered in fire, so you would think, hey, he probably absorbs fire, but no, they are actually weak to fire.
Yes, and that's because Dullahan, from where you found him in the vanilla game, was actually on the tomb, so he is pretty much an undead. I don't think he actually counts as undead for purposes of revival, but he has similar equipment or resistances/absorptions.
Yes, and it looks like we have an Ultros in the sky. And an Atma in spaghetti on Funnelcakes.
Yes, and Leaf going to show us the Tritox Spot / Ice Dragon, which I don't believe we've seen yet.
I think you're correct.
Saving before taking the dragon, always a good decision, because this walk up here is kind of a pain in the neck. You can warp out, so if you decide you don't need the dragon, you can just grab Tritox and bail.
Taking those dragons, especially with the XP eggs, definitely a good thing. Not to mention the high-tiered item you get afterwards. Now, we're about 40 minutes in, and with the exception of jbruntr having 5 characters, all of our runners have 6 characters and are just Esper hunting at this point.
Absolutely, and this is where... Okay, so Funnelcakes getting some fixed dice off the check there. One thing to note is that even though they're in the World of Ruin right now, that check, that throne, can also be gotten in the World of Balance, because that is where you get Edgar in the vanilla game, just saying hi to him. You can do it in either world. Typically, if you have Edgar as a starting character, you might just dip in there just to grab just that. If you have him mid-seed, like what we're seeing here, you sort of combine it with the Underground Tentacles check.
Exactly, and it looks like we are going to see an Ancient Castle play from Funnelcakes.
That does make sense. I'll be interested to see if Funnelcakes might do some do the dragon on their way here, because Funnelcakes is I believe one of our only runners who hasn't done the dragon yet. So might want a little more levels just to stay ahead of the curve. There's one little quirk as to how experience tends to work when you're actually playing seeds like this, is that the way I've heard it described is it's like a surfing wave. If you stay ahead of it, you just have a nice ride through. If you get behind it and you're trying to swim past and catch up, it's just makes everything rougher and takes longer.
Trust me, I have lived through that. That is not a fun feeling whenever you know you're a little bit behind the level curve. So it looks like we had Atma weapon on the Tritox spot.
Absolutely, and jbruntr doing a fire sale. I did not see what was available for purchase. Oh, earrings. And experience eggs if you want a third or possibly even a fourth.
Well, in Final Fantasy VI, Worlds Collide included, levels are key. Levels are going to get you stronger than anything else. Stat bonuses, you just want those levels.
Absolutely. Ooh, and we've got Fenrir as an Esper. Very nice to have. I believe it had Life 3 as well, so gets you your Calmness Protection and then also Life 3 if you need it for other purposes, both from the Tritox spot.
Well, looking with the Espers, especially with the fact that there is multi-summon on, they are going to be very protected for their final Kefka run. And that is an Illumina from the Dragon in Ancient Castle.
Absolutely. And it looked like Funnelcakes got an Esper from that, but I had a little bit of lag, so I didn't. Did you catch what it was?
I had the same lag myself. So, oh, Grethem coming through. It was Palador. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. So at 6 characters, 7 Espers, really what you want to be looking for here are some of the quicker checks, some of the easier checks you've got available. Unfortunately, I don't think they have anything super quick, because I think a lot of the fast ones Funnelcakes has already run through, and there's not a whole lot that's peakable in the same way outside of what they've already completed.
Oh, I think their best peekable would be Fanatic's Tower, even though that's still kind of a feels bad move at 45 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, one option if you want to try gambling and you have a lot of money is you could try to see if you can buy 2 espers. I don't know if in this flag set, depending on the flags, you can either buy 1 esper, 2 esper, or it could be random. I'm not familiar enough with the Moogle Cup flags to say whether you can actually get 2 espers or not. Do you happen to know?
I believe it is too, yes.
Okay.
And we're getting a burning house play on jbruntr's side. So we'll get to see what's at the end of that. Now, one of the things that was explained to me was you are more likely to get a new character off your most recent character's checks. So with Strago being one of their newer characters, there is a chance that this could push them up to 7 characters.
Yeah, that's certainly a risk. The other thing, however, is that maybe you're hoping to get a character with a bunch of fast checks, like maybe a Setzer, because Setzer's got a couple fast ones, or something like that. Maybe like Shadow, who's got Dad's House, which is super quick, something like that. You just sort of hope they can chain in like that way.
You are absolutely right. Not to mention, it only takes 9 characters to get that Kefka Tower skip, so that's also something to look forward to.
Yes. Oh, I was not aware that Funnelcakes. I guess Funnelcakes is the one runner who has not yet done this, so this would actually be a good choice here, getting this check and then can dip into the auction house afterwards. I believe this was an Esper, if I remember right, so they might be in good shape after this.
Yes, I think it was.
And one little thing to note here about with where Funnelcakes is with the doors, you should pretty much always get that chest that's hidden behind the doors. Since you saw Funnelcakes just standing there, it actually will never cost you time to get that chest. So even if you're fully in go mode, you might as well pick it up because you have to wait for the doors anyways, and that timer keeps ticking down while you get it.
You are absolutely right. Oh, I didn't even think about the fact that you can pick Mowgli's World of Ruin with Terrace checks, as NonniGray is doing.
Absolutely, and that is... Yep. Oh, and that's Shiva, so they are definitely going to keep that.
For sure. And we've got Magimaster Light, number 024, in the Burning House.
And doing the little tap L and R, so they dance. Very nice. That is noted, jbruntr.
We love to see it. And here we are with Funbaba 3. So no matter what you do, this guy is going to blow away 2 of your characters.
Yes, in a situation like this where all your characters are good, it's not that big of a deal. If you have to face it early, for example, if you start off with Terra or something and have, only one character who's get hard locked into this, you can sort of manipulate it because it will move the dead bodies first. So if you have 2 characters you absolutely want to keep, kill off the other 2 and just leave your 2 guys alive.
Exactly. Oh, and we have a Yeti on jbruntr's side. If we have any Yeti fans in chat, get your hype in there now. And we have a Marshal with Pluto armor up with NonniGray. And on Funnelcake's side, there is going to be a Fanatic's Tower play. It will be an Esper whenever they finally make their way down.
Yes, because Fanatic's Tower, you would see the character marching at the bottom where Strago is normally marching with the weirdos. Cultists, whatever they are.
So, whenever you're this close, because you know you're going to get an Esper here, which is going to put Funnelcakes at 6 and 8, do you stop and take the dragon, or do you just rush through this?
I think it depends on my level. I believe Funnelcakes is, last time I saw they were 40, and that was before fighting the dragons, so I have to assume they're at least mid 40s. So, I mean, I definitely don't blame anyone for taking it. I could also see an argument for being like, hey, we're in good shape and just rolling right by.
So, question in chat from Fiery Blizzard, what the check count is. We actually can't see that. I'm not sure if we could go to their individual... No, actually, we can't do that either. We do not know where their check count is.
I will, however, note that we've only encountered, I believe, 2 or 3 dead checks each person has. So it's not that far off of just adding up what's on your screen. And I believe it's 22 is required. So I don't think anybody is close enough that you would do a lot of extra just to pick them up. It's beyond the level where you might just dip into Kefka's tower, kill one dragon, and bail out. I think they're all at least going to be probably 3 or 4 short. Top out at 17, 18, something like that.
I think you're right. And Fire Blizzard does bring up a good point, that at this point in a Moogle Cup seed, the check number is really the only thing that matters because their power is way up there. So they're just looking for that skip at this point. And NonniGray is going up the Zozo Towers. Another Terra check. And that is my absolutely favorite boss. Inferno. Which Nonni takes out with no problem at all.
Yeah, at this level and this power level, you know, most bosses are going to be crushed pretty quickly, pretty easily. jbruntr as well, following Funnelcakes up the stairs here.
And we do say that there is a Valiant Knife at the top. And we picked up Shadow on NonniGray's screen. Talk about your easy, quick checks. That's kind of what we wanted to see.
Absolutely, but looks like going for the guaranteed, knowing that this is an Esper, guaranteed go for your 8th Esper here.
And we have a Rexol in Fanatic's Tower. Now, Rexol being interesting because he does have very high magic defense, so it'd be great if you could swing a big stick at him, but since we're in Fanatic's Tower, it's just going to be magic.
Yeah, and unfortunately there's at least one character, Mog casting ice there, only 400 damage, not really doing a whole lot. That's one of those times where sometimes, just for time's sake, if you have one character who's doing very, very little, it can be worth not even bothering to waste time with their action. Let only your heavy hitters do it, so you can save yourself the animation time.
Oh, and Windblown Leaf going for the dog pat. Drinksglue will be happy.
Yeah, and this will be Leaf's 8th Esper, and given how long it takes to walk down Fanatic's Tower, pretty much all, Windblown Leaf will be pretty much tied with everybody else.
Thing is where do they go next?
Honestly, I know people hate it because of the RNG, but knowing that there's an Esper Glowing Stone available, and they've got plenty of stuff to sell, I would just go and buy my last Esper.
That is definitely a play. NonniGray getting their Valiant Knife. And we'll be starting their Rexel fight pretty soon. And Funnelcakes making the long trek down.
Absolutely. So looks like pretty much we have a very close race here. We are about 55 minutes in. So while we're waiting for people to finish up with the checks they're doing right now, just do a nice little refresh here. So this is the Moogle Cup. This is the Heat 1 of Heat 2. These are 4 of the 8 runners. It's a Battle Royale async where 8 different runners have done it. These are the first 4. The next 4 will be done in a follow-up run on right here on the Worlds Collide, targeted to start about 10 o'clock or so, pretty much right after the conclusion of this one. My name is Arusta. My co-commentator today is Dweia. Our restreamer is Saberwolf, and our tracker is Grethem. So thank you to everyone for watching. We really appreciate it. If you are new to Worlds Collide, the Moogle Cup is a great way to get involved. Just there are details in the Discord. This is wrapping up, but then you can sign up and be part of the next one. There is also Ultros League, which is our standard race set, which will be starting soon, I believe, in early November. So you can sign up, so we're available for that now as well.
It is November 2nd for the Ultros League.
Meanwhile, it looks like Funnelcakes is going to the Burning House. Interesting.
I am not a huge Burning House fan myself. I can never seem to skip past all those flames.
Yeah, especially at this point of the seed where you don't really need all these levels. Burning House is a secretly very long check. As well, it's not necessarily guaranteed progression, or it's not guaranteed progression, and you don't even know it's going to be an Esper, so it feels like this is a decent gamble. I seem to remember it was an Esper, so I think this does pay off, but...
No, it was a Yeti.
Oh.
So Funnelcakes doesn't know it yet, but they are about to get their 7th character.
Oh, and that is not the 7th character you want, because Yeti's check is very awkward to get to.
Well, and especially because they've already done the Tribe Talk spot, so nobody wants to climb back up that mountain.
Yes.
Now, me personally, if I was going to do one of Strago's checks between Burning House and Ebbett's Rock, I would have chosen Ebbett's Rock.
Yeah, at this point of the seed, I think Ebbett's Rock is... I mean, like I said, my vote would still be for Auction House, but I generally usually find pretty solid odds with the RNG. Seems to give me some nice benefits. But, I could see going for something else, but just Burning House, it's a lot of battles. The one thing that will pay off for Funnelcakes, though, is you can see they're getting Dispelled the Curse on Shield and got a bunch of levels here. So might make their final Kefka and Kefka's Tower run much faster just from extra power.
Absolutely. And shout outs to Golden Shocker for that raid. Welcome in, and welcome to watching the first, the Heat 1 of the Moogle Cup Battle Royale stage.
Absolutely, and just while that was happening, NonniGray, using their Shadow, did go and get a 9th Esper from Shadow's dad's house.
So NonniGray is in go mode, and they have all the pieces to the puzzle between Calmness Protection and Mute that they should have a very nice, easy run.
Absolutely, and I kind of like this idea with your extra money. I don't think NonniGray checked it, but just going ahead, I usually like near the end of the seed, just going and buying if you need any extra items. I saw they had a Mega Elixir, but just making sure you don't run out of Phoenix Downs, things like that. Stopping in somewhere like Zen or potentially Albrook, just spend the rest of your money right before the end of the seed. Can't take it with you.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. Funnelcakes is going to get the bad news that they got a Yeti. And we are getting a KT run by jbruntr. However, they are only at 7 and 8. They do not have their 9th Esper.
Yeah, overloading the middle party looks like they might be doing just a dip for some dragons, perhaps?
Possibly, and maybe wanting to take the toilet atma spot and hoping for that 9th Esper there. And if that's the case, that is a very risky gamble.
Yeah, it looks like NonniGray stopping to do one more dragon before fighting Kefka. I mean, this makes plenty of sense. Get yourself a little extra levels, because those statue bosses, depending on what you get, can be pretty rough. And the amount of time you spend just knocking this out usually can often get paid back just from being able to kill everything quicker. Especially when it takes, 3 swings and it's already done.
Definitely. Not to mention, now we don't know where their checks are at. So there's a possibility that they could also be trying for skip.
There they go. That was for skip. So that makes even more sense. Ice Shield, skip, and extra levels. That is very, very good. Very heads-up play there.
To mention, at 102, they are going to be entering... Well, 102, 103, they're going to be entering their tower as well.
Also, I like stopping to save first, because God forbid you put the wrong party and then get to the statues and then have to bail out and then lose that dragon you just did. So always good play to do a quick save.
Oh, Arusta. jbruntr got their skip, but unless the tracker's wrong, he only has 8 Espers.
Oof.
Oh, no.
And one thing to note here, in case anyone's not familiar with it, the skip is a one-time use. So, like, if they reset, if jbruntr resets, you get it back. But if they, kill these bosses or do a save here, that skip is gone.
Okay, we just got word that the tracker is correct. Oh, that is a feels bad moment.
One thing to note is that you can't actually get a second skip. For example, if there's a condition for, say, 22 checks and then 9 characters, having used up this skip, you could get 2 more characters if you really wanted a second skip. But at that point, unless you somehow get it by accident, you are much better off just taking the time to walk back up, unfortunately.
Actually did not know that. I thought once you got the skip, it was done, whether you got it one way or the other.
No, you can fulfill the multiple conditions, but it's a very rare case where it makes more sense to, get a second skip than to just be like, oh, well, bad day.
Yep, you're absolutely right. Funnelcakes has now gotten their go mode as well.
Yeah, it looks like Leaf was looking for the stopping in Zen, maybe looking for, see if they could buy an Esper there.
We actually have jbruntr in chat, letting us know that that realization is going to hit very quickly. Oh no.
Yeah, that is just, it's an unfortunate thing.
Yep, and there was a pause there, and I think you could just feel the frustration.
Yes, but I will say I like the play here to, since you're already here, just finish off these bosses or at least dip them, see what you've got. You might as well take advantage of what you can. Make the best of it.
Very true. Funnelcakes is in their tower now. And getting ready to fight whatever is at the Vanilla Inferno spot.
As is Leaf. Leaf and Funnelcakes, neither of them has the skip, so they are both walking the long way. So there's Guardian at the Inferno spot, but everything else we've seen thus far has been fairly friendly. Piranhas takes time, but is easy. Cranes are just getting steamrolled, like you can see. And Ultros remains Ultros with Fire 3, not a problem.
Exactly. Now the cranes, they're going to go down so easily. However, if that wasn't the case, the left is the one you don't want to cast lightning on, the right is the one you don't want to cast fire on. After you get that down, they are very easy.
Absolutely, and looks like jbruntr going to get their last Esper here, just following up on that Umaru.
Now, I don't remember, has Jay done... They have not actually done their Tri-Talk, so this works out. It's not like a double climb up the mountain.
Yes.
And we have Tunnel Armor. Very weak. Nice to see at the statues. Could have been a lot worse. But really, at this point, none of these runners really have anything to fear.
Absolutely. And one thing to note as well, you can see on their side, like, as both Leaf and Funnelcakes are mostly just running by, not even looking at chests. And that is what you need at this point of the seed. There is pretty much nothing you could possibly get out of a chest that's even worth the 5 seconds to walk out of your way and open it.
You're right. At this point in the race, you are truly at endgame. You are not looking for anything other than just going.
Meanwhile, NonniGray just making their final preparations for the tiers in FK. So stepping on the switch about 108.40.
That has to be a good feeling.
Absolutely. That's, that's where you've got a good sign, like just knowing that you're on this ready to place final Kefka at this point.
Yes, and like we've said many times over, with the amount of offense that these runners have, I really don't think any of them are going to be too worried about this final Kefka.
Absolutely. Generally, what you want for final Kefka is, the most important thing is calmness protection, if you can get it. Beyond that, you want generally at least 2 characters, preferably more, who can do endgame caliber damage. The more the better, but I've found some people do it with 1, if you're a top tier runner. I've found 2 is at least the minimum I need that really gives you some float room to cut through. Anything more than that in the game can just take way too long, even if you do push it through.
And here we go. We are starting our final Kefka. There are 4 tiers to this fight. Do you want to explain the first tier and the mechanics?
Well, for these runners, the mechanics will be just kill it like what you're seeing. Beyond that, there are specific parts of the boss you want to kill sooner than others, because each part of the boss will have a final attack. For example, you generally want to kill, I believe, the head earliest. Certain parts of the areas are vulnerable to instant death. there is a very, very nice linked in the wiki and somewhere in the beginner's house, a nice map that actually shows exactly what each part is weak to, what it attacks, and what order you should generally kill them. So very nice. Do you want to describe tier 2 a little bit?
I sure will, but not that that mattered on tier 1 because you blink and you miss it. That was quick. Tier 2 has 4 parts. You have magic on the very left, the red figure in the middle is tools, the bluish purple guy is hit, and the tiger is tiger. Tiger is weak to ice. You definitely want to try to kill that one first. Tools is weak to instant death. Again, you take that one out quickly, you never have to worry about it again. Magic is susceptible to mute. Once you mute it, you never have to worry about it until the very end, and even then, it's not very hard. Hit, basically, all it'll do is hit you. But you take him out, he'll get 10 hits on you, and you're done.
Yeah, generally speaking, if you have mute, you want to mute tools and leave it for the last. If you don't have mute, it can often be nice to kill magic before the hit, just because magic tends to cast a lot of annoying spells and also a lot of slow spells. Hit just does physical damage, as you mentioned. The 10 hits, if you don't have Golem, can be you can see there, just did 100, 800, 1,000. So it can add up.
Yes, now since they have multi-summon, they can just throw that on and not even worry about not having it for tier 3.
Absolutely. And one thing to note as we're going through, Drinks Glue, the CEO of Moogle Cup, points out something in the chat is that, so this is the top 8 Battle Royale. Only the top 4 finishers will move on to the final round, so these final times are important. You know, even the person who doesn't finish first on stream, they just need to be in top 4 overall. So, you know, there's a lot of drama here, not just for who's going to finish first, but who's going to finish second, third, fourth, and then what their time is.
And not only that, but this is just the first 4 runners. There are still 4 more runners in the second heat whose times have to be considered for those top 4.
Absolutely. In that second heat, if you missed it earlier, we'll be starting after the conclusion of this, targeted for about 10 o'clock, so we can take, you know, just a short water break. Commentators can take a deep breath, things like that.
Yes. All right, it looks like jbruntr is back in his tower, about to get to his statue switches. So even though there was a little hiccup there, still making a great time.
Absolutely, and since jbruntr, I believe, has already killed all these bosses, we'll be very quick here. We'll be probably finishing up, might even finish ahead of where Funnelcakes and Leaf are, just from not having to do these bosses.
That's true. We have tier 3 up on NonniGray's side. Tier 3 being Girl and Sleep. Definitely want to take out Girl first, as she absorbs all elements and can heal and life 3 Sleep. Sleep is the one that we really talk about whenever we talk about tier 3 because of that calmness.
Absolutely.
And we're about to see. But
yes.
Because of that calmness and protection, there's no fear of that at all.
Yes, and one other thing to note about Sleep, we won't see it given the amount of damage they do here, but once it gets under 10,000 health, it can do some nasty stuff. It can do Train, which is basically every status effect you don't want, and then I believe it can also do Meteo, which is a lot of high damage. So Train, you want to just count the HP if you can, and then knock out that very last part of it as soon as possible.
Yes, and here we go. Final Kefka himself. Descending from the sky, glorious angel mad clown.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Funnelcakes stepped on the switches about 1:14. So they're about 8 minutes or so behind, or excuse me, about 6 minutes behind Gray, but still second place in the restream, probably still in good shape for finishing that top 4 overall like we were talking about.
And Gray Celis is strong. Kefka has entered his goner phase. At this point, he will not counterattack. You just want to unleash and do as much damage as possible.
Absolutely. You want to break shields like they're preparing to do now. If you've got, they're doing big damage, so it won't be a problem, but this is where you have all those shields. Anything you have, you toss it out. So and GG's right there.
GG's. With a final race time of 1:15:43. Funnelcakes not far behind in their T1. And while we're doing this climb, I'd like to ask everybody again, please give shout outs to our restreamer, Saberwolf, our tracker, Grethem, my co-commentator, Arusta, and all of these runners that are putting on a great show for you.
Absolutely. And in the time it took you to say that, Funnelcakes already just pushed through phase 1. With the amount of damage, everybody here is going to speed through these fights pretty quickly.
Most definitely. It looks like jbruntr did not kill off all the statue bosses. But again, with this power, it's not going to take them long. They're going to step on their switches very soon. Little last bit of menuing. Make sure they have all their calmness protection. Make sure they have everything good. And he will be good to go as well.
Absolutely. And at this point of the siege, generally when you're equipping espers, what you want is you want your calmness protection, so Golem or Fenrir, or both if you've got both. Potentially something like Bahamut if you desperately need non-elemental damage for tier 3. And then beyond that, if you really want like a healing, maybe you do Starlet, but there's not a whole lot beyond that that's super useful.
Very true. So Funnelcakes doing their tier 2, making sure they've got everything in order, muting magic. I didn't see if they killed off tools with an instant death, but now they're just going to be swinging those sticks and taking it down quickly.
Yeah, and then actually, even though it's muted, magic does still cast Dispel, like we saw, at the end of its death, even if it is already muted. So if you're trying to set up something like Life 3, just be aware you might need to recast it on the next tier to make sure everybody's protected for calmness.
Absolutely. Not to mention, they can also quarter you. So if it were to quarter you and then you hit, those 10 hits could take you down pretty quickly. Windblown Leaf also in their tier 2, and jbruntr in his tier 1.
Absolutely, and Funnelcakes moving on to phase 3 while Leaf is casting Mute, getting that dealt with.
And the thing about Final Kefka is even though these runners are maybe a tier behind each other, anything can happen. Kefka can be a very rude clown.
Absolutely, and that's not just the case, at Moogle Cup. Like, that is the case for everybody, all the way up from, the newest runners, all the way up to the most experienced runners. You still will see, occasionally, even top-tier runners struggle with Final Kefka, struggle with Tier 3, because they just cause issues.
For sure. Now, we had talked about sleep earlier and that HP threshold. I believe that HP threshold is about 29,000 out of the 40,000 life that he has. So if you're counting, you can kind of manipulate and avoid any of those nasty counterattacks like Train and Meteor that we talked about.
Absolutely. And to answer a question in chat, was asked whether Dispel removes Golem protection status. So it doesn't, but what Golem does is Golem gets reset on the tier. So if you cast it on tier 2, it doesn't still exist on tier 3. You need to cast it on tier 3 while you're up there. In this case, the flag set allows you to multi-summon, so you could be casting on every tier if you want to. But in a normal run where you don't have multi-summon on, which is kind of the default, typically if you have Golem or Fenrir, you will not cast it. You will just eat the 10 hits right to the face, and then just when you get to tier 3, that's when you summon it.
And another interesting thing about Golem is it does go off the caster's HP. So if your caster has low HP, there is a chance that your Golem can get knocked off if it blocks that amount before Calmness goes off. Funnelcakes in their T4 now.
Yeah, one thing to note is that with Final Kefka here, you saw they went straight to the Goner phase. I believe it's 30,000 damage you have to do. So if you don't do a ton of damage up front, he will cast Fallen One, knock all your characters to 1 HP, and you just want to heal them up with your Mega Elixir. If you do a ton of damage, which like Funnelcakes did, you can just straight up skip that phase, and it will go straight to the Goner phase.
I'm pretty sure Gray did the same thing, and with the amount of damage that these runners are doing, I would actually be surprised if we do see a Fallen One.
Absolutely. And GG to Funnelcakes with an official time of 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 32 seconds.
GG's. We have Windblown Leaf in his tier 3 and jbruntr entering their tier 3. These runners are neck and neck, with Leaf having just a little bit of an advantage.
Absolutely. And you see Meteo here. This is the counter for the under 10,000 that we were talking about. Meanwhile, they're about to summon Moonsong, aka Fenrir, to get their Calmness protection. And one other subtle thing, you might notice the counter over Mog's head. That's why they're spending so much time in the menus, because when you're in the menu like this, the counter does not count down. So while you're having animations, you can sort of skip the make that counter take a lot longer so you don't have Mog accidentally die here.
Exactly. Now we saw that Meteo missed. Meteo, thankfully, has a pretty low accuracy rate. So even though it does happen to go off quite a bit, there is a chance that it's not as bad as you might think. And then on jbruntr's side, we have been seeing some blue bubbles from the Ultima spell.
Yeah, and you can see the hand there that came out to block the Calmness. That would be Golem doing his job.
Golem MVP. And folks, we now have Leaf and jbruntr in their T4 together. Again, anything could happen. And if you think about it, considering that jbruntr went all the way, did the statues, got knocked off his switches, and then was able to come back and still be neck and neck with Leaf, that is saying quite a lot for that runner.
Absolutely, and now we're getting we did see that Fallen One there. Looks like Leaf did not do quite enough damage to skip. Can't imagine they missed by much. But now here's where you go full out. You break your shields. You do 12,000 damage with Lock just hitting stuff. And there's the crack pow.
Nice. GG's.
GG's indeed to Windblown Leaf with a final time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 23 seconds. Meanwhile, jbruntr is on the goner phase now, so with the kind of damage they're doing, should be done themselves pretty quickly.
Absolutely.
And there we go.
There it is. GG's to all. This was a great race. These runners have done an amazing job.
Absolutely. And GG's to jbruntr with a final time of 1 hour, 25 minutes, and 53 seconds. So just in case anyone missed it earlier, so this was the first heat of the second heat. We are going to have 2 heats for the 8 total runners. These were the first 4, and then the next 4 will be starting at about 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern, so in about 20 minutes or so, give or take. I think we're going to do a little bit of behind-the-scenes transitions here. Great runs by everybody. Thank you, everyone, for watching. My name was Arusta. My co-commentator today was Dweia, who I believe will be running in the second half of this. And then we are going to show some stats here, just some summaries.
And yes, you are correct. I will be in that second heat. And those are your official race times.
Yes, as well, shout outs to Grethem, who you can see is going to be in Heat 2 starting in a few minutes, and then has also been our tracker, doing a great job of keeping us in line, keeping us in track, pushing the buttons, and then Saberwolf, of course, behind the scenes doing the restream.
We definitely could not do this without all of them.
All right, well, absolutely. Do you have any final thoughts on the seed, Dweia?
You know, as one of the runners and kind of having a bit of foreknowledge while we were watching, even with that, this race was fantastic to watch, and I am so happy that I got to be a part of this. Moogle Cup has really helped. Working with a mentor has been wonderful, and again, I would suggest that if anybody is interested in learning Worlds Collide, please join that Discord and sign up for that Moogle Cup. It has been a blast.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think I can wrap it up any better than that. So thank you very much, everyone, for watching. As I mentioned, we will be starting that second heat in a few minutes. Just going to do a little bit of behind the scenes transition, probably start about 10 o'clock Eastern, so 18 minutes or so for now. So for the break, my name was Arusta. My co-commentator was Dweia. Behind the scenes was Saberwolf and Grethem. So thank you, everyone, for watching, and we will see you in 18 minutes or so.
Thank you, and have a great night.